Oh, we just got to ourselves comeback FC, shouldn't we? Because we've only gone and done it again, haven't we? Away to the Hammers at the London Stadium in front of their 2,000 fans. It was a great night, and it was a very, very, I'm going to say great game, but I think it feels a little bit more like squeaky bum time for the whole 90 minutes after that first half performance. But hey, welcome along. This is Walder Reds. You can see there's only a few of us here. There's a few people running late, so we're going to add the guys as they come in, but we will have a full panel when we get like 5-10 minutes into the show. You join in as well, make up for those absences, get in the live chat, and of course, as ever, if you're watching on any other platform but the YouTube channel, please come over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/allforunited, get in the live chat, smash a like on the video. Your likes means that more Reds will see the video, so please like the video and help support us grow. But as ever, let's start tonight's show with our final word on the weekend's game. So the final word on the West Ham game, guys, get yours in the live chat. We go one by one, 60 seconds to 2 minutes. Jamie, you was on the live reaction show. If you watched the game back, if you had more time to digest it, what are your thoughts on yesterday's win?
Yeah, I've sort of had a little bit more time to analyze it a little bit more than what you do sort of straight after the game. But yeah, obviously, like a lot of positives to take from the second half. I think we played some great football at times in the second half, but obviously the major issue was the team that were playing in the first half. We just sort of couldn't get a grip with the game. They seemed really up for it. They were first into the challenges. They were the first to the headers. And I don't know about you boys. I'm sure you'll have a little chat in a minute, but I was just sitting there and thinking, like, what's actually happening here? We're getting completely outplayed here. And like, we don't seem like we can do anything. Pass the ball. Our play was sloppy. There was no shape. There was no nothing. So, obviously, in hindsight, you can look at it now and think, yeah, it's a great away day. But there was a couple of worrying moments in that game yesterday for me. And I'm just hoping we can sort of iron them out before our game on Tuesday. I'm sure we'll touch on that a bit later, so I won't go into that too much. But yeah, obviously, like, big props to Ollie as well. And I know he does get a lot of stick from our fan base sometimes on social media. So it's a case of, I thought he was quite brave yesterday. I didn't see him like changing it. And bringing players in straight away. He doesn't usually make changes at halftime, and he did, and they massively paid off. I thought Bruno he gave us a focal point to play through. He allowed the deeper line midfielders, Pogba and Scott, to sort of have a simpler pass than having to maybe play a longer ball, and sort of give us another option in that midfield. It gave them something else to think about as well, which I think was important because first half. And then I thought Marcus was absolutely fantastic yesterday. I'm sure we could sort of chat all day about Martial's form, but I was really disappointed with him yesterday. I thought we actually played better when he went off. But I thought Marcus was superb on the post-match. I give him man of the match as well. But don't want to say too much because I know we've got a big panel tonight, and I want to let people make their points as well. But yeah, obviously, absolutely delighted we got the 3 points, because I think if we would have went into the Leipzig game on the back of a defeat, I think it would have sort of psychologically been an uphill challenge for us. But the fact that we come back again from behind, which that's a whole different issue, I'm sure someone will pick up on that. But having that little bit of confidence going into the Germany game, it's an absolute massive game on Tuesday. So I think we really needed that.
Yeah, ho, 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 green giant. Love that. I love Marcus. Says hello, welcome, mate. Welcome to the show. Hit that subscribe button, hit a like on the video as well. Our worldwide Red show with us. Sean's with us. Hi, mate. How you doing? Stick a like on the video. Hope you're good. And hopefully Sean will be back on next week. And also, we've got Abdel joining us. Keen's going to be joining us in a bit. And we're hoping, what did I miss? Brown Knight's going to be on with us tonight as well. So that'd be pretty cool. Kai, I want to come over to you. By the way, the running order tonight, we're going to talk a bit about the Leipzig game that's upcoming, of course. We are going to hit on the striker debate. I want to talk about Greenwood as a number 9 and our options at number 9, which I'm sure Martial's name will come up naturally in that. But Kai, you know, you like to hit on things tactically. You're also quite balanced with your thoughts. But that first half performance and second half performance was like 2 different teams, wasn't it? What were your thoughts on that win yesterday?
Yeah, look, I'd say I do agree that, of course, yeah, we were poor in the first half, and in the second we obviously were better. But one thing which I see often is the amount of overreaction to being 1-0 down. The amount of times good teams go 1-0 down, playing average or poorly, and then turn it around is actually very often. It happens very often. You see it with Bayern. It happens. So while I get the concerns that we start off slowly and all of that, I just think we weren't that far behind. Yes, we did concede a lot of chances, but look, this happens often. So I just think we need to always be tempered in that sort of, we can't play fantastically all the time. So, you know what, I'm kind of okay with it. It's we won the game. We weren't that far behind. It was just 1-0. And they'll obviously Ole will know the issues that need to be solved. And of course, he is the manager, so he knows, he can see the type of issues that needed to be solved over there. Having said that, I just want to look at some of the points in the game. Greenwood, look, I just don't know how people aren't making more of a big deal out of the goal he scored. The goal he scored was something of pure beauty. That is something you see from a 29-year-old striker in his prime. He's proved a lot, and the way he touches it and he turns, he leads the defender to the left, turns to the right, and he just bangs it one time bottom corner. That finish was so unerring. It just literally, keeper didn't see anything, and I just think it was a finish from the highest order, and massive credit to the kid, because I don't know how he does it, or how he studies football or game clips or whatever, but he is so good with that finishing. Also, another thing, I think Bruno Fernandes, obviously, someone's going to talk about him. There's this, taking away the stuff which he did, which was the creative stuff, the fantastic things like that. A mark of a proper arrogant player at the top of his power is, there was this, I think, at the end of the game, where he receives the ball in the midfield and he draws their right back, I think it was Ben Johnson, and he chases Bruno all the way to the opposite touchline. Bruno, once he's tired with him, lays the ball off to Wan-Bissaka, does a 1-2, receives the ball, and then he plays it into Mata, and we start a counter-attack. And that was just, for me, that was just proof that this guy is actually levels, and whoever is criticizing him doesn't really know too much about about individual talent, someone who's got a football brain that's on a higher level than a lot of players, and that's the type of arrogance you want at United as well. And just two more things. I think shout out to Wan-Bissaka, that tackle which he made, that last ditch tackle, just out the box, that was a fantastic tackle again, and he does this very, very often, and I think his timing of tackles, his recovery powers are right up there with the Kyle Walkers of this world, as well. So that was fantastic. And my favorite guy, Paul Pogba, I think he had a decent performance, and I want to point at the fact that look at his body mobility a few weeks ago to what it is now. You can clearly see he's moving a lot better, and obviously I think that's because he's getting a lot fitter. So I think he just needs some peace and quiet, and great game at the end of it, and yeah, I'm all right. I'm happy.
I think Pogba also said in a post-match interview, the first game of the season I couldn't run. I was trying. I spoke with the manager. I will start the game and let's see. But I was very out of breath, and it took me a long time to get back to my fitness and to get back to feeling physically good. We use COVID as a bit of an excuse for him, but it does seem like it hit him hard. And from what he's saying now, he really did feel the effects of COVID, especially after that first game of fitness. For a professional footballer to come out and say that he was on that pitch, he couldn't run, he was so out of breath. It's just not normal, is it, for an athlete to come out and admit that at any stage? So it just goes to show that COVID does have a big effect even on these professional athletes. And Paul Pogba was feeling the struggle because of it. So fingers crossed, he's done with all that. Hopefully he's back to full fitness and he's feeling a lot fitter. And look, he done 90 minutes yesterday. And as you say, Kai, I thought he played all right. And on the Wan-Bissaka thing, I think the reason why people aren't talking as much, maybe I think anyway, and personally I'm not as well, about that Wan-Bissaka challenge, and maybe he's not getting enough credit for it, was because I actually think that first half, he was potentially one of the worst players on the pitch in that first half, if it wasn't for that tackle. Every time he got the ball, him and Scott McTominay were misplacing such simple passes, and the movement in front of him, I admit it was non-existent. Yeah. But then
I'll
again,
tell you why, though,
Ben, you need to hold the ball. You need to do something. And whenever anyone rushes Wan-Bissaka, he's not very press resistant, so he just loses the ball quite a lot. Second half, that changed. As soon as there was some movement in front of him, Greenwood was too close to him. the whole time Greenwood was too close to him out on the right side. As soon as then there was another outlet there, and Mata was coming inside, and I think it was who was it at the start of the half, because Greenwood moved over for when Cavani. I think it was it Martial who was out on the left, Rashford on the right. I can't remember at the start of that second half. But there was a lot more space basically for Wan-Bissaka, and his wing back, he was paying attention to someone else. So actually, I was disappointed with Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, I think it's Greenwood isn't interested in playing right wing. You can clearly see he's a centre forward.
But you got to do a job. If you're playing on a position, you've got to do your job.
No, of course, you're right. And I'm just saying that you can clearly see that he doesn't take enough defensive responsibility, and because he's not naturally there. He's not interested in it. So I think that's why Wan-Bissaka also looks exposed in that area, because Greenwood is literally stuck to that touchline. But yeah, sorry.
Potentially. Let's go on with it. Abdel, you all right, mate? Brown Knight, are you in with us? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're a bit quiet. So try and have a look at your settings, turn your mic up, and we might be able to hear you a bit more. But we'll come over to you guys in a minute and get your reaction to the game, your final word on it. Oliver, let's come over to you, mate. What did you make of that in 60 seconds to 2 minutes yesterday?
Well, I mean, it was definitely brilliant edge of the seat viewing, mate, for 90 minutes, but only for the neutrals, unfortunately. In the end, I'd say the only bubbles that were blowing were the foam coming out of David Moyes' mouth. But first half was frustrating, let's be honest. I think it was the same things targeted again, wasn't it? You know, the front post from the set piece, knowing that it was an issue we had against PSG. I'm not sure that it was looked at enough. You know, maybe someone tall like Scott McTominay on the front post just to, you know, kill that dead ball off and then get rid of the danger. I think there was another thing that was clearly targeted, whether or not you could see Jared Bowen was just all over that space that was left behind Tellez. I mean, that was always going to be an issue with his attacking intent in what he offers going forward. There is obviously going to be some sort of space left in behind. But luckily, Maguire and Lindelof were the unsung heroes, I think, of that game. They were brilliant. Solid. Looked like a good partnership again. They didn't really get caught out, and there was sort of good conversation between everyone knew their jobs, and yeah, I think that was one of the main positives that sort of goes under the radar, because obviously it was just Bruno and Rashford saved us in the second half. I think it was a solid defensive display aside from a set piece. Dean Henderson was brilliant. That pass, not sure it stayed in, but that's for a debate.
What do you reckon? In or out? In or out? In, out, shake it all about.
Definitely out, mate. Definitely out. But then it came back in. So
prove it.
I'll send you the picture on Twitter, Ben. But aside from that, what a fantastic pass if he meant to do it. That's like top goalkeeping passing. Yeah, second half, brilliant. Obviously more space, but Rashford's now was coming into it a bit. He looked a bit more mature performance. I know there was a bit more space and we only had a banner to beat, but you could see he was ready to go at a moment's notice and always onside, which I think has been quite a frustration for a few of our forwards earlier in the season, getting caught offside. I think he looked a danger. He could have had 2 or 3. Luckily, we saw Fabianski had him. Second chance of asking, right, next time I get this ball, one-on-one with Fabianski, I'm lifting it over him. Pogba, I think his first touch, if that was a little bit better in the first half, we would have seen more of Van der Beek, because it seemed to bounce off him a little bit. I don't know whether that's a bit of ring rust. He's not played many games. But I think positives, I think everyone looked a bit more up to speed by the end of the game. So for me, I think we're looking at a stronger proposition against Leipzig than we were against PSG.
I like it, Ollie. I like the positive to end it with. What's that noise? Oh, someone's going really quickly. Is that me?
Brown now.
Jamie, that's you, mate. Jamie, you're going really fuzzy, mate. It sounds like you're in the wind. I don't quite know what it is, but someone keeps going really, really fuzzy. Sorry, I'll just mute you all until like we come to you one-on-one just to make sure that. Yeah, really good pointers. Yeah, I think it's really funny with the Henderson thing because like at the end of the game, it was Moyes who came out and said I was right under the ball on the line, and it definitely went out. Oh, funnily enough, you're also the West Ham manager. So, yeah. But no, good points well made. I've seen that picture as well. And I think it's really, really interesting that VAR didn't draw a line on it to come to a conclusion. But hey, what's clear and obvious?
I'm glad they didn't, Ben.
Yeah, exactly. What is clear and obvious nowadays anyway? Keen, welcome along, mate. Let's go over to Abdel next. Abdel, mate, take the floor. What went so right in that second half, but also equally what went so wrong in that first half?
Let's start with the right. I guess what went right was that we, with Rashford and Bruno, because they're very direct players, we were able to separate the last line and the second line from West Ham as 4-5-1 because they were denying us a lot of space before Rashford and Bruno Fernandes came on. And what helped as well is Mata. I think the game changed a lot more when Mata came on for Martial, because the second line for West Ham did not know who to man mark effectively, because before Bruno and Rashford came on, Declan Rice was man marking Van de Beek very tightly, and he was doing a good job on Van de Beek, to be fair to him. And he denied him a lot of space. Whatever Van de Beek went, he always moved up and get the ball off Van de Beek whenever he tried to receive it. So those two changes gave us a lot of space in the middle. And also what the other change was the double pivot. The double pivot, Pogba and Scott McTominay, was not working at all in the first half. And what Ollie did was he asked Scott to be the third center back to drop back in on the right side of the three, and to allow Pogba a lot of space because he was getting in his way a lot of the time. Like, Pogba got frustrated at one point in this first half, and he actually pointed to Scott like, give me a passing option, you're in my way. And so that also helped a lot in ball progression, because the second line and Haller, they were trying to, circle around the double pivot in the first half and deny them a lot of movement and a lot of space. Now, because Pogba is quality with his vision and passing, he was able to find a lot of passes in behind for Cavani and Greenwood, which the only two that were making any runs in the first half. It just wasn't coming off for them. It wasn't coming off for them in the first half as effective as it was for Rashford and Bruno when they were able to separate those two lines. The first half, the issues we were facing was defensive stability, because you went with Cavani up top and you had Martial on the wing and you had Greenwood on the wing. You're not going to get a lot of defensive cover. That's one thing. The second thing is with Telles as well as your fullback. That means like your defensive contribution on that left-hand side is almost zero. Like, I remember, I don't know if you remember, Ben, when we talked about Telles before he came into the club, and you were asking me how good is he. I told you that it's definitely an upgrade offensively, but it's a downgrade defensively, because
we saw that yesterday. We saw that time and time again yesterday.
Exactly. He's like, Shaw is a little bit better than him defensively, so that tells you a lot. And I'm not saying this to diss Shaw in any way. I think Shaw is good defensively. He's just not great offensively. And we saw that, and they really hammered that point. They were not getting any space down our right back's side, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So all their attacks, they were aiming them down that left flank, and they were denying our forwards any space. So the five at the back for West Ham, whenever Van de Beek or Martial, because Martial was doing it more than the Cavani and Greenwood, they were tasked with running behinds. Martial wants the ball to feed, so he keeps dropping with Van de Beek at the same time, and one of the center backs from West Ham would immediately drop down with him. And the moment the ball gets into his feet, he either fouls him or wins the ball off him. So they were denied that space, and this is why all our what's it called? All our attacking intent was breaking down. So you only were looking at Pogba and asking him to do something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this is exactly. And I think we had a couple of shaky moments, like after we conceded that goal from the set piece, which I also blamed on both Pogba and Telles, because both of them, they saw the run from the man at the back post, and they just stood there. Like
Also, mate,
Telles
Martial's
missed him.
positioning was awful at that corner, and so was Cavani's as well. When you look at how far away they were from each other, they was asking for that space to be attacked.
And that too. But like you're doing a zonal marking with a couple of watchers at the start. So the zonal marking is like whenever someone comes into the zone, you have to attack him. We just did not. And the person who won the ball is Declan Rice. It's not someone who's like tall and big and he out-muscled them.
I'll tell you what, Abdel, can we come back on the zonal marking? I want that to be your next question, because I want to ask you why he's persevering with it. Clearly doesn't work for us. We concede so many goals from set pieces. So we're going to come back to you and ask you why he's persevering with this in a minute, because we need to get some more thoughts on the reaction. But everything you said completely ticked off. I don't know if it's is it buggy vibes? Is that how I say it, or is it something like bougie vibe? I don't know how to say your first part of your name, buddy. But thank you for being on. Agree to you. Sure is definitely better defensively than Telles. Abdel, I need to follow you on Twitter. You do need to go and follow Abdel on Twitter. Everyone does. He does a fantastic thread at the end of every game. We retweet it all the time on All for United. So go check that out. Brown Knight, let's bring you in. Let me unmute you just in case you're not unmuted. What did I miss, mate? What have we all missed?
Yeah, thank you for having me on, and thank you for putting me at the back of the legend Abdul Bari. No pressure.
Speak on the heart. Your thoughts
the
on
thing
the
is,
game against West Ham. Go on, let's hear it.
Okay. More importantly than anything, we had to win the game, because before the game, I tweeted that we potentially we make up ground on 4 of the teams that are above us. And sure enough, now we are 5th, and if Southampton win their game, then we are going to be 6th. So we jumped from 9th to 6th, 5th now, but maybe we will go down to 6th. So the main important part of the mission was to win. So, and we did. The first half was an experiment, I would say. And the thing about Oli is that he will experiment. He is learning, and he's trying to adapt his squad. He's trying to use his players as much as is possible. The main grouse we had last season was that he had no faith in his subs. He had no depth. And a lot of people were complaining that the summer was bad, that we didn't get Sancho, so we had a horrible summer. But I kept consistently saying that no, the summer was good, because the one thing that we did not have last season was depth. And now he has depth. So when he has depth, he will try and use that depth and try and make up different combinations and see where he can rest a few players and where he can bring in a few players in different roles, which clearly didn't work in the first half, but that's what he tried to do. And some of the fans that we see, they say they give no credit to Oli. I say he is very brave, for one thing, for trying something. In a game like West Ham, we can afford to try something because they have a bubble that bursts all the time. And the thing about Oli is that when it didn't work, he didn't wait. Like last season, he would wait until the 60th minute, the 80th minute to make changes. And I think Fred's red card actually had an impact on him. So halftime, we had 2 changes already, and we can see that that's clearly what he tried to do. He tried to, okay, plan A is not working. Let's go plan B already. We don't have to wait until the 60th minute or 80th minute. So overall, I give only all the credit that he deserves for that win, because he masterminded that. That was a masterclass.
Ollie Masterclass. God, I like it. Brown Knight, it's good to have you in the conversation instead of in the live chat, mate. Thank you. Although we are taking a one viewer hit tonight. So for anyone who says on this channel we care more about viewers than anything else, you are wrong, because we could have one extra viewer tonight. But he's not. He's on here with us chatting football, and I love that. Let's see if we get Jamie back in quickly, and his audio's not farting at us, we hope. Fingers crossed. Chucky, let's go over to you, mate, with your thoughts. What do you think, Chucky, about the win yesterday? What points do you want to hit on? Oh, you're muted, mate.
I think my mic's still off. There we go. Yeah, thank you, Ben. So look, West Ham was always going to be a potential banana slip. They had won 3 games in a row, I believe. They've really lost to Liverpool, and they had drew to City. So they're not an easy team to go into their own house and get a result. I'd say I like the discussion about COVID and how it's affected Pogba, and even Telles also on our team has had COVID. I think we take for granted because these are athletes and because they generally, we don't think that they will have underlying conditions, and we don't think COVID kind of drags them down into the weeds. But I mean, if you do an eye test, you could see that Pogba starting off the season was frail. You could see the mobility wasn't there, like Kai said. I could see that it was leading to some poor decisions. Like he wasn't mentally fit either, if you ask me. I think in the first half he was bad for Pogba level, and I think he improved over time, especially in the second half. He was misplacing passes. He wasn't really controlling the ball, which is one of his big strengths. He's able to dart and break lines and still keep the ball in close control while figuring out who he's going to distribute the ball to. He was a little sloppy, and I think that affected the people ahead of him, Cavani, Martial. You can see they came in deeper, especially Martial and Cavani, because there was nothing. It was too slow, the tempo, the mentality, the application, which is a worry for, I'll say, all his biggest worry is how we start games. It's not the skill isn't there. I didn't care about the last speaker just talked about using the depth, which is good. I was fine with the rotation. He put on a team that was supposed to go in and do a result. But I think we start games, regardless of who we choose, with an interesting type of mentality application that is probably detrimental. I think we're too we dither, or we're tentative, or we're nervous, or I don't know. We need to be mentality kings, just the way our rivals are. That's why they call them mentality monsters. That's something we really need to start gaining some ground on. But anyway, so because of what Pogba and Pogba is supposed to be linchpin, because McTominay, the next first 20 minutes, he probably can't make a 10-yard pass, just not because he doesn't have the skill. It's just he's a young player, and that's a mentality thing. I think that really disrupted the flow of the team in the first half. Then you add on top of that once United is stepping on the field, remember, we're going into every bar fight with one hand tied behind our back because we're a left-sided team. We have literally nobody that can do a natural job on the right. Not Mata, and definitely not Greenwood. Greenwood takes a vacation and he leaves AWB, where that's where all the attention normally goes to. You look at AWB and saying, oh, wow, he should control the ball better. He should do X and YZ better. But he's generally a one-man army on the right-hand side. He's everything. He's the winger, he's the right midfielder, and he's the right back. So even worse is that having Greenwood there wastes Greenwood, because you really want him centrally. That's where you want Greenwood. So I think that was an issue, and all of that changed in the second half when Rashford and Bruno came in. I think Rashford especially changed the game. To me, was the man of the match. I went to go look at Pogba's numbers, and they are brilliant numbers. It definitely was very, very different from the eye test in the first half. He had more passes total than both the folks in the pivot, both Rice and I can't remember his name. His name is Susek. Yeah, Suchek. Yeah, he had total passes more than both of them combined. So sometimes we have to relax and look at things in an even keel way. The last thing I'll say is about Ollie. I think what he really wanted to do, he got some rest from Bruno and Rashford. That was needed because of Leipzig. If you look at other teams and our team, there are a lot of muscle injuries. And I think at the end of the season, we'll be applauding the decisions he had to make to just, really carve out time to get key players some rest. And I mean, someone said it was brave. I think it's not only brave, it was prudent that he did so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good points, Chucky. Thank you. And Keane, over to you. Final thoughts, mate.
Like I think with the game yesterday, like it was a game of two halves. I think the first half, West Ham could have put us to bed. Though they did miss quite a few chances. I think Sebastian Haller is probably still having nightmares about that chance in the first half. I think in the second half, when you've seen the changes been made, you've seen Rashford and Bruno come on, and then Mata come on, kind of tie things up. You've seen kind of there's more balance in their play. I think Paul Pogba yesterday was someone that he showed his quality in certain parts of the game. Though even the points when he wasn't creating chances, but he actually was keeping it simple. I think you've seen that he can play slightly deeper, providing who's beside him. I think Scott McTominay yesterday wasn't one of his best games, but again, he doesn't play well against teams that park the bus and kind of play on a counter attack. So I don't think that yesterday kind of suited Scott. I think defensively, again, I know we conceded one, but I think Harry Maguire yesterday did have one of his better games. Again, I think since the Spurs game, he's been someone who's low-key actually been quite good. I think Maguire did play well yesterday. I think with the corner, the zonal marking, again, we spoke about it last night. I think we need to abandon this. I think zonal marking is clearly not working. After conceding, 3 goals, last 3 games from set pieces, how much more can we do this with the zonal marking? Ollie's even said publicly in his pre-match interview before Southampton, he said, we need to get better at defending set pieces. We're conceding too many set pieces. I think that's a massive concern because I think that's where teams are going to target us. But all in all, I'm glad with the 3 points because look, we have a big game against Leipzig in Champions League. It boosts our confidence, and we get a victory on the back of a disappointing defeat against PSG because I feel we could have got a lot more out of it. But look, I suppose we move on now. Rashford got on the score sheet, got his confidence, and we move on to a big game now on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And I think we'll come back and talk about confidence with you, Keane, in a minute. We're going to talk to Abdo in a minute about zonal marking. We're going to talk to Brown Knight a little bit about Ollie experimenting. I want to hit on that slightly. But first of all, Kai, let me come back over to you because you mentioned why aren't people talking more about Greenwood's goal? It was pure class. It was phenomenal. But also, we've had a response to that tweet by Leo, who sent a message saying, also, people not talking about that Mata pass for Rashford's goal enough. Can't stop talking about it, can't stop seeing it. Abdul saying a little bit there about Mata's influence. On the player rating show with Temi and Karthik, I thought it was slightly harsh to Mata. They gave him a 6 and said he didn't really do much. He influenced the game, but we didn't see him regularly on the ball. What did you make of Mata jumping in, Kai?
I think for me, obviously the game had already turned a little bit before he came on, but I just think the addition of Mata actually really confused the West Ham team because I think they had one plan on how they were going to stop us, and the moment that Mata came on, you could see always Mata and Bruno have this almost telepathic sort of thing that they know that, okay, this is the right pass. I'm going to give it to you. If you make this run in this space, this is where I'm going to give it. And that pass, which he hit first time into Rashford, firstly, that's kudos to Rashford for being onside, like Ollie was saying. Just the timing of the run was brilliant, and also just the weight of the pass, even the technique that he hits it with is also a little bit fancy. Matas he's just class when some of these things come off that he tries. So I think he had a very profound effect on the game as it got on, because obviously the Pogba goal really then changed the game properly. But I think with Mata, it allowed Bruno to do whatever he liked. As well, because they really were confused in there. So yeah, I do think he was a lot better than a 6, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, Yeah, fair enough. I thought I actually quite like. I really like Juan Mata, and I do think he brings a calming influence. And again, you want someone who moves about a lot, and he does move about a lot. I think is a fantastic footballer. We will talk about Greenwood a little bit later on, and we'll come on to him. But first of all, Jamie, let me just quickly run over to you. Another one of the substitutes, and we've spoken about him slightly. Rashford. How impressed were you with him again in that second half? Oh, Jamie, I can't hear you now, mate. You're completely muted. I think your headphones might have exploded, mate, and that's why nothing's happening because we now can't hear you. Oh, he's going. Right, Jamie's going. Oliver, let me bring the same question over to you because we've spoken about Rashford in the past. So what do you make of Rashford yesterday in the second half?
I thought it was a brilliant, mature performance from him. I think he looks like he's, taken the mantle of having all the pressure that, the press put on him. And I think he looks like he's really starting to translate into, a world-class player. I think he's definitely made that left side his own, which is bad news for Martial, but we'll get onto that later. For me, it wasn't in doubt that he was going to come on and have that sort of impact. You could see the space was opening up. Obviously, a laboured performance from the West Ham back line. There was going to be a bit more space, but as we said, his timing of his runs, he was looking and he knew at half time. You could see just before they went to the studio, you could see Rashford and Bruno just doing no-look passes, and they were always there. It was perfect. So obviously that's been looked at. That's our attacking impetus, the number 10, feeding it to the rapid players up front, and it works. Pace and power. Jacob OC is in the comments. He had a brilliant comment on it. If you go to the reaction video that Jamie was on, it's a very long essay of a comment, but it nailed it perfectly. So basically, for Rashford, for me, I thought, I was expecting that level from him, from his recent performances, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him. Hopefully, that little bit of a rest, not playing the whole game, he can be as effective as he was last time against Leipzig. I think they'll probably look to maybe counter the space in behind this time. But yeah, I think he's nailed on. He is our left-sided attacker for me. Or every time he is fit, he should be starting in that position.
So very briefly, for you now, he's a left winger, not a striker or a right winger.
And now he's a left attacking forward.
Don't go football manager. He either plays on the left or right or up front.
He doesn't play on the left wing, does he? And he's not just part of a two-left striker. He has made this unique position his own.
He's made a unique position.
He's on the inside there.
He's got him as a lone striker now. He hasn't got the hold-up play.
Well, no, he hasn't. We've seen it.
The left winger.
We've seen it in the
left foot for the crossing.
We've seen it in the
question there, lads.
It's an odd position, but he plays it very well.
Are Rashford's stats misleading? Just a question.
What do you mean, though, in terms of like a little bit of context around the question? What stats are we talking about?
So his attacking stats, because I believe that Rashford is kind of getting into the discussion of just above very good, because if you have to look at the numbers that he's pulling up, they're pretty ridiculous at this moment compared to someone like Sterling, for example. So is the narrative just because he plays for United that he's not really being talked about as someone that's approaching that, that different conversation, or is it still the penalties that are really the problem when looking at his goals? Like, I'm just trying to see how people assess Rashford, because I think he's harshly assessed as well, because he's doing really well. Like, if his name was Rashfordo Marquinhos, I'm telling you right now, his numbers will be crazy, because people rate Vinicius Jr. an incredible amount. But then when you have to look at the type of numbers Rashford puts out, that's why I'm asking, are his stats really misleading, or is he really that good? Because I think he's really that good.
Do you know what I think it is, Kai? I think you can only comment on what you see, and I think, do you know that Bruno through ball which Rashford hit the post, he scuffed his effort? I think the problem is we see one or two of those every game, and I think as soon as Oh no, I'm not criticising him for it. I think the fact he's getting in the position and we're having a chance is really positive, and the fact that that's happening more consistently now than ever, when we're saying Rashford needs to improve that side of his decision making and just fine tune himself slightly, just shows he's only got to tick a small box, as you mentioned there, to get up to the next level. And I think that's frigging exciting. I'm so excited by Rashford's development, and I think he will get there. I think he's very, very good.
I don't think 1 in 2 is not bad.
No.
Forward, to be fair.
There was this
that first shot that he had where he hit the bar. Second time he went for it, same ball through. You could see he changed his mind. He knew how to beat Fabianski, and he did it. Yeah. That's the more mature side, rather than just going for a wonder goal and trying to get in the the views on Sky Sports.
Yeah, his finishing technique
sort of maturity that is
has improved.
Decision making. That's what we criticise Martial for most of the time. So
I think the finishing technique his finishing technique has improved a lot, because remember Rashford 2 years ago, he used to almost strike the ball exactly the same. Didn't matter what type of a finish it was, he would still hit it with the knuckleball type of effect. But now you can see he's a little bit more like, even the one which he scuffed, he actually, if you look at the technique, he almost got it right. It was just meant to creep into the corner. But he didn't really scuff it that much, So I think he's getting better. His technique actually as well.
He did it against.
I do want to say though that he has to score that first opportunity, and I think even Bruno calls him up for it. He has to score that first opportunity because although it doesn't matter now, and I'm not putting him up on it, but if he doesn't, and that's for whatever reason our final opportunity in that game, we've missed a fantastic opportunity to get level or go ahead. I can't remember what stage the game is at now, but still, he still should have scored that. Chucky, let me come over to you anyway quickly, because we're going to go on to forwards and stuff in a moment. You hit on his name, but I know it wasn't the point of your conversation, but Alex Telles, a lot of people talking about Alex Telles' performance. We've mentioned about the worries about him defensively, but also I am slightly worried offensively as well. Look, he can put a great ball in the box. No one's doubting that. But the fact of the matter is it looks like it's that domino effect that he needs to put 8 or 9 in a box before putting a good one in, if you know where I'm coming from. So what are your thoughts on Telles?
So for Telles to be effective, the team has to move the ball quicker, right? That's just, let's end the discussion there, right?
Chucky, I want to disagree with that slightly. I do agree tactically, positionally. Of course, we've got to. If we want to get the best out of any footballer, we've got to move the ball better and play better.
Not really.
But he's still putting balls in the box. In that first half, he still put 4 balls in the box, I think it was. And they went nowhere near a Manchester United player, even though at times Cavani was there, Greenwood was approaching, and they were poor balls in the box. He was putting them in too early and at the wrong point. So, look, I agree. At times, of course, to get the best out of players, you need to play better and do this and do that. But he is also capable and culpable of putting some really poor deliveries at the wrong stage in the box as well.
Wouldn't you say that it's because we are not moving the ball fast enough that he doesn't have enough time on the ball to put in a decent pass, a decent cross in?
But if he's able to put a ball in a box, he needs to be putting a ball in a box for a purpose. He can't just be pushing a ball in a box for no reason whatsoever.
Trenton Robertson also put spam crosses like you'll never believe. Until they get it right. I think they just do it until one mistake, one defender blinks, but they keep on going and going and going, even from deeper positions. So while I get what you're trying to say in terms of those type of numbers, I still think that it can be successful if you keep putting the opposition central defenders under pressure, because his balls are wicked. They're not easy to defend. You have to kind of struggle to defend them over and over, I think. So, I don't know.
Well, I think just putting it in the danger zone constantly.
But he doesn't put it in the dangerous zone.
No. It's a bit Ashley Young-esque, isn't it? Remember when
Ashley Young never put the ball in the danger zone. That was part of the problem with him.
The ball in.
That's disrespectful. That was just that.
To put it on someone's head, he just spams the ball in, and it's not.
No, but Ashley Young used to put in 4 posts.
He's just hammering it in.
Look,
I think
hey,
if
one
Tellez
thing I'd
keeps
say-
doing that, hopefully someone will get on the end of one of these.
Brendan
Have
makes
a run.
clear about it taking time to gel, and I completely get that. And the rest of the attack time to
Yeah.
gel, and it's trickier when we keep changing our starting attackers, which I do agree with. If we don't get enough people in the box, and he's putting the balls in the box, and there's no one in there, of course, how's he going to freaking find anyone? But again, Jacob, yeah, fair enough. He did get an assist, didn't he? At the end of the day, yesterday, he did get an assist, and Greenwood done well taking that into his side. I've not said it's a poor signing. It's definitely not a poor signing. We just need to watch more to give an opinion. Go on, Chucky. Sorry, let me throw it back to you, mate.
Look, Tellez is a good crosser. He's not David Beckham, leveled crosser, but for a right back, he's a pretty good crosser of the ball. Kai made a perfect point. It's about volume. He puts in many. He's going to get a lot right than he's going to get wrong. I prefer Tellez on the set pieces, especially corners. Fernandes takes them. I think he lofts them too high. Or whatever, I don't know. The technique Fernandes uses on corner, if you haven't noticed, every time Fernandes is on a corner, pay attention. He's going for a lot of height on the ball. For Tellez, it's more, he puts in the location in which he dropped the ball is normally dangerous. And the way he whips it in is really, really wicked. And it gives an opportunity for an oncoming attacker to do something impactful with the ball. So I think it's a matter of how many times has he started for United. I think the more he integrates and the better we are at applying ourselves as far as moving quickly and giving him opportunities to do his thing when he overlaps, I think we'll see a lot of great things from Tellez going forward.
Final points on him defensively, Chucky, just quickly. What did you make of him defensively?
Abdel hit it right out of the park. Tellez, his reputation, no one's ever going to, put Tellez in as a great one-on-one defender. That's not his gig at all. That's not the party in which he excels at. Is he terrible at defending? I don't think so. I think the best thing to think about Tellez is that the aggressiveness and the value he brings on the attacking side well overweigh whatever deficiencies he has in the defense. And for him, attacking is the best form of defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a typical Brazilian fullback. He's very determined, very aggressive, very good offensively, but almost clueless defensively. But anyways, who really cares? Because he gets an assist, So it's basically Marcelo, It's basically.
He's Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Bernd.
You're gonna get the best out of Tellez when the game suits him. If we're going to be having to play a more defensive game against a better team that's going to apply pressure to us instead of us applying it to them, Luke Shaw is going to be a better option for me because he's a better defender. But like the smaller games where we're going to have the majority of the ball and we're going to be able to maybe push up to the halfway line a little bit more, that's when Tellez will show his class. But I think the issue with Tellez is one, Van de Beek started so well, so we're expecting Tellez to probably be influencing the team from the left side the same. But I think he's going to take time. But trust me, I've seen a lot of Tellez at Porto, and he's a really quality footballer.
Interested. I can't wait to see it. Jamie,
is he a left back? If he's not a defender, he's not defending, and he's only
he's a left wing back.
Asset. So if he's an asset to us going forward, if I think a lot of people are agreeing that he's not that strong defensively, why don't we just use him as a winger? Use him on the left wing and rest Rashford.
One thing I'll say about
Luke Shaw come in as left back. Luke Shaw at left back. Tellez at left wing. Let's see how that goes.
I'm just glad I can speak again.
It wouldn't work. They tried it with Marcelo. It didn't work. It very rarely works, that conversion, I think.
I think it's interesting because
only Gareth Bale made that kind of.
Yeah, only Gareth Bale. Yeah, it very rarely works because it's fundamentally different. The space that you have to come with the ball. Yeah. Sorry, who was I interrupting? My bad.
All I was going to say was definitely his best performance, I think, in a United shirt. And again, he's only played a few games, but it was definitely at left wing back, I think, against PSG.
I hate to bring up Ashley Young's name again.
Don't bring up Ashley Young's name again.
PTSD.
One thing I'd like to touch on with Alex Tellez.
Don't bring up Alex. Don't bring up Ashley names. Just no. Could you imagine if that was the headlines when we signed it? United signed the next Ashley Young. Go on, King.
Fuck you know.
one thing I'd like to touch on just with Ashley Young is sorry, not Ashley. Jeez, not Ashley Young.
No. We're not. No, we're not. We're not talking about tennis anymore.
You're after.
You've had a worse performance than my headphones there, Keith.
Like Smalling all over again. Seriously, people are saying Smalling is our best best centre back. You know, why did we sell Smalling? Seriously, Checkle brothers.
Yeah.
I mean, why are you guys forgetting? Right. I mean, not you guys. I mean, the fan base. Like, why are we selling Smalling? Smalling is our best centre back. You guys realize how bad he was?
I don't know where this show is. Go on, King, quickly, King. Last bit on tennis. Go on, quickly.
Just last bit on tennis. Like, I think over the last 12 months, we've been for a left back to put crosses into the box. Luke Shaw is fantastic defensively, and we all rate Luke Shaw defensively. One thing United fans have been going mad about in the last year is Luke Shaw not getting past the left winger and actually getting the ball into the box. We have that now with Telles. Now, I see everyone's argument that, yes, sometimes he might get the cross in, but at least we're getting them attempts. Because with Shaw, I think that's one thing that sometimes he lacks, is that ability to get a ball into the box. He always seems to come back inside and give it back inside to Rashford or Pogba, whoever's come in that left channel. That's one thing I love about Telles, that he does get a ball into the box. I know most the top teams, they all have a good left back. Spurs have Reguilon, City of Mendy, Liverpool of Robertson, Chelsea of Chilwell. We've the same type of left back in Telles who will get a ball in. I think he just needs time to adjust. Like he's only not even had a handful of games yet. So I think the jury's out on him at the moment, but I think in time we're going to see the quality left back that we did buy.
Yeah. Right, perfect. Thank you, Keane. Right, let's move on slightly. Keane, actually, I'm going to stick with you. We need to be really, really brief on these few bits. Then, obviously, brief. Abdul, I'm going to come over to you and chat about zonal marking. Then Brown Knight will come over to you about Ollie experimenting with his team. Keane, quickly, wax some lyrical about Bruno Fernandes. Is he the best midfielder in world football at the moment, Keane?
Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes is the best midfielder in world football at the moment. Absolutely. You look, people will call him a stat padder, right? But you look at, in 45 minutes yesterday, he had 8 goals, 8 chances created. That's the most in the Premier League this season. That was only in 45 minutes. Name another midfielder who would do that in 45 minutes. Kevin De Bruyne didn't, because he took 90 minutes to create 6. So no one come to me with Kevin De Bruyne. Bruno Fernandes is so critical to this team's progression. He's so good. His quality going forward, his leadership. He just brings everyone else to another level. And you've seen that the minute he got onto that football pitch yesterday. Everyone stood up. Pogba played better. Rashford was driving forward. Even Telles was making more runs down the left-hand side. Greenwood was making more runs in the channels. In this regard, Bruno Fernandes is the best attacking midfielder in world football at the moment. And there's talks today that he's going to get his wages doubled. I'd triple his wages. He's that good. Do you know what I mean? Give him the keys to Manchester. Do whatever you want with him. Do you know what I mean? He needs to get that armband. I can't speak highly enough of him.
If the Glazers or Woodward are watching this, if you're going to put your money anywhere, put it into Bruno Fernandes, please. Not your own back pockets, 100%. You're giving them ideas now, Keane. There's not going to be any transfer budget now for the summer because it's going in Bruno Fernandes' back pockets. But hopefully that means we're going to have a long-lasting love with Bruno Fernandes. Abdel, let me come over to you quickly. Zonal marking. Why do we pursue with zonal marking? Oh, you're muted, mate.
Why do you not like zonal marking, Ben?
Because we can see goals from it all the frigging time. That's why.
But I don't think it has to do with the
zone. I was expecting better than that, mate.
No. But what I'm gonna say is the setup itself is not the problem. It's the lack of what's the word?
Execution?
No, awareness, concentration.
Concentration.
Awareness and concentration. Like the goal we conceded yesterday. Literally, everyone saw the runs from Declan Rice and from Sushinek, whatever his name, I can't pronounce it. That guy's name. Anyway, so they saw the runs. Now, when you see the runs, you need to act, right? Telles just took a few steps, then stopped. Pogba saw him, but he didn't move. And then you have Cavani in front and Martial and Scott. 3 close by Declan Rice, and none of them acted. It's not about the setup. Same thing with Southampton's corner, by the way. The same exact thing. They saw the runs, they just left the person. So it's not about the setup itself, because in instances we did not use just purely zonal marking. We in many instances we used zonal plus exactly man marking, a hybrid of both. So we would mark, for example, the most dangerous ones in set pieces in the teams against us, and we just put a zonal area to force certain players to be in. But it still hasn't worked, and that isn't because of the setup. Like if you watch every corner for us, the positions, the run watchers, and the man markers, they're all in their places and they're all holding someone. But once the ball get kicked, what do? So that's your issue. It's not, oh, man marking is better if we do man marking. Voila, the problem is solved. If they lose concentration in man marking, then it's the same shit is gonna happen.
Can I play devil advocate quickly? Sorry, 1 second. Can I play devil advocates quickly? Just really quickly, because we need to move on to the Greenwood conversation. Last season, we were the second worst team for conceding goals from corners. I think we conceded 8. Doesn't seem like a lot, but I think Chelsea conceded 9. So second worst on there. This season, I think we've already conceded 4. Understand what you're saying, but again, playing devil's advocate here. Why isn't anything being changed? What's going on? You're saying it's obviously not the application. It's not the way it's being coached. Zonal marking isn't wrong, but why is this a running theme?
That's the big question. Is like, why is this not being talked about? Like, for example, if I was the manager, let's say, I'd tell them, okay, you guys stood in the right positions. Pogba, why have you left your runner? Or tell us, why did you leave? Like you ran with him, but you didn't run with him all the way. Cavani or Scott McTominay, why did you let Declan Rice get the better of you? He was in your zone. He was right in front of you. So this is the question that you would be asking, right? It's like, are you not comfortable with this setup? Do you want us to change this setup? Like, are you not comfortable to be in a zone and then wait for the man to be in your zone and attack him? Or do you just want to be with the man, hugging him from the start? This is the questions that you would be asking to the players. It's like, it's not that the setup is a weakness to us. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some comments coming here which are really good comments. James says we have to get on top of it now. No excuses from now on for such easy goals. Quickly, Kai, do you want to ask your question? Sorry, mate, for butting in. Just wanted to get that done.
Yeah, no, it was the same type of question to Abdel, because I just wanted to ask then who is responsible for it. Because if it's a concentration issue, then we have to look at the actual players. And it's not, like you said, it's not really the system. So who do you guys really think should take responsibility? Because if you're the captain, you see this every single time, and you are a central defender, and it's basically your job to keep everyone awake, and also the goalkeeper as well. I see our keepers
I've said this many times over the summer.
Yeah.
And I'm cutting off. I'm not sure whether it's me or you guys, but I've said this many times during the summer that we actually need to expand our coaching staff and get in a proper set piece coach. One of the suggestions that I made was that when Mata eventually retires, then he comes in as a set piece coach, because his set piece awareness is, I think, the best. He has more direct free kicks than anyone else in our squad. But he is very, very underrated. There was one match in particular where Bruno, Pogba, and Mata were hovering over a free kick in the zone, and suddenly the commentator was like, "Haha, Mata has to move back because he's not getting it." And I was like, "No, Mata is the best direct free kick taker we have. Just because Bruno and Pogba are more popular doesn't mean that Mata doesn't get a look in. He has more direct free kicks. At that point in time, he had more direct free kicks than both of them combined for us. So that says something.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point, because also
I think Mata can be a very good set piece coach.
We've spoken on this show before about Klopp bringing in the throwing coach, and everyone laughed at that, the fact that he brought the throwing coach. But again, why wouldn't you? Boxers regularly. Boxers regularly bring in extra people to their camps when they've got a different opposition to learn from them and to sort of model and change their style. So we've got a weak point. Why don't we try and change up that weakness? But it's so tough, isn't it?
Do you know the funny thing, Ben?
You not think a taller player at the front post is a better idea? Surely, if you've got a big, tall player making a big jump at the front post.
Oh, let's sign Ollie McBurney.
Ollie, well, we've got
That's what Ole said.
We've got Matic.
Yeah,
They're not useful in the box, are they? So stick them up front of the car.
But United does need a throwing coach, Ben. Funnily enough, our throw-ins are atrocious. We do. Our throw-ins are terrible. Right?
Come on, have you seen Bellerin do it today?
Well, I don't know. I think that dude is more of a model than anything else.
My take on all of this is get Abdul in the hot seat and get Kai in as his assistant will be sound.
Yeah. I had a question for Abdul. Abdul made some great comments there about that. What happened during that goal West Ham scored. Yeah. I see this literally every time. I saw it during Sevilla, and I saw it just on the opposite side during Brighton. And Fernandes was the culprit there. I don't know who scored. I think it was Mark or something from Brighton that scored.
These were crosses, though. They weren't set pieces.
Are you sure? I thought it was a corner or a free kick.
No, they were crosses. I remember the one that De Jong scored against us, the winner against Sevilla. That was a cross from the substitute that Williams failed to stop.
More on Brighton, the match against Brighton.
Yeah, the Brighton one was a cross from their striker. I just don't remember the name that the guy scored.
Maupay?
It was a cross. No. Maupay was substituted at that time. It was not Trossard as well. Marsh is the one who scored.
Yes, Marsh was the scorer, but I do remember
the guy who crossed it. I just don't remember.
Okay, so either way, it
was a corner in.
It was a corner, wasn't it?
It came back in. Yeah, it was. It was a corner.
It was a corner. Thank you. So it's the same thing. I could see literally in Bruno's eyes. I could see him look at the player. I could see him follow the player, and I can see when he decided to stop his run. It's almost like gambling. It's like the discipline is in there. It's like, I'm going to gamble here because it's 50-50 that boy ever gets here. I think the same thing Tellez did.
Yeah,
Shaw does it a lot too.
It's the same thing that happened with the PSG set piece as well. After we cleared the corner and it ping-ponged around, they let their guard down, and Marquinhos just, capitalized on the opportunity that the ball fell right in front of him.
Yep.
And that happens with us when we go the goal down as well. Like against West Ham yesterday. There was like a period between like the first 3 minutes where they got a couple of shots until the 33rd minute where just nothing happened in the match, neither on West Ham's side nor on our side. But then we conceded that set piece, and then all of a sudden we looked so shaky, and just chances started flowing for West Ham. That I don't know how to answer that question. Is it a mentality thing? Is it like, because you can't be solid for 30 minutes and all of a sudden you just leak all the chances in the world. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a player thing. It's really a player thing that Ollie has to address that one.
Yep.
And
the coaches, because Ollie's in the coach.
Yeah.
There's one thing which you also notice how, I don't know if this is a thing by design, maybe Abdul, you can help a little bit, but every time after the corner, that first phase where we need to push out, always, every single time, I never even look at VAR because I'm just like, their player's definitely onside if he scores, because we're so slow when we move away from the thing. Out of the thing. It's always so, they're always so onside. I'm like, why aren't you guys further away?
You need your centre half.
Exactly, to shout, get out.
That's you need your centre half. As a centre half, like I played there myself. At centre half, you're saying step out. The second you get rid of that, you head that out of the box. You know that second ball is coming. You're saying step out. If you're the captain, you're the leader, and you're centre half, you're saying step out. There's, as Kartik said in the comments, there's no communication, and it's clear as day.
It also 90% of the time seems to be that the slowest two out are Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka 90% of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have noticed that. But anyway, we've got to move on because we can talk about this quite a lot. There's quite a lot coming in. Brown Knight, I don't know if you want to catch up for Karthik and let him know what he's missed on the show. But Brown Knight, let's come over to you now, buddy, because I wanted to talk about, you mentioned about Ollie experimenting. I actually don't want to hit on that too much, but I want to hit around the topic and maybe an experiment, not an experiment. We spoke about this slightly last week on a show, and that was Greenwood's development. is him playing out wide, pausing his development as a striker? Do we need to see more of Greenwood starting up front? So Brown Knight, kick off this conversation for us. Do you think now's the time to start playing Greenwood as the out-and-out striker in this United team?
In the 5th century, in Arabia, there's this general, one of the companions of the Prophet called Khalid al-Walid. The one good thing, the one speciality about Khalid al-Walid was that he never lost a battle. The reason why I'm talking about Khalid al-Walid is because one of the things that he did was he changed his personnel constantly. Because at that time, at that moment in time, nobody knew that somebody who on the right flank could suddenly go on the left flank, and somebody in the left flank could suddenly be on the middle, and that confused his enemies, and they lost the battles, most of them. He used different techniques, something that's unpredictable, and I see that as a lesson. Something that even Sun Tzu speaks in the Art of War about. The element of surprise. And things that we can switch on during the game and in-game management, where I've said this before, we have a front four that is very flexible, very fluid, where we don't have to, you are just on the left wing, you are just center forward, you are just on the right wing. No, they can move like every 5 minutes you switch, and then you are suddenly on the left wing suddenly, and that's something that Oli is doing. If you notice that, suddenly we'll see Cavani on the right wing passing to Bruno for a goal. That Cavani is not a right winger, but why is he there? Because Oli is doing that. It's something that he is implemented in the team, that you are not static in one position. You guys can rotate within a match itself. So by doing that, we already have a front four that is capable of playing in all these positions, and they are able to up their game, each and every one of them. Another thing about Oli is that, it's not about what he says, more about what he does. I made a tweet after looking at the team, the lineup for yesterday's match, and it was that, in person, Oli completely backed Fred after the red card. That's his management style, but he didn't even make the bench. Now his excuse was that he's played too many games and that we need height in this game. Matic didn't play. Matic was not playing, and what height? Because we conceded from a set piece on a corner, and the height was not used. So it's not about what he says; it's about what he does with Oli.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good point. Well made, actually, there, Brown Knight. A really good point. Well made. Jamie, let me come over to you. On the Greenwood chat. Brown Knight, they're saying that he doesn't really off strike. It doesn't matter where they play our front three. They need to be fluid. They need to transition well. They need to be flexible. I think that's sort of what we were saying there. What do you think, Jamie? Should we be making Greenwood now the vocal point of our attack?
I think if going forward, we're obviously going to be looking, well, I think we should be sort of spearheading our attack with Cavani. But obviously, I know I'm a big advocate of a striker that only needs a chance to score a goal. And obviously, Cavani's been doing that at top level for years. So I'm quite, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit old school with it, but I like to see the goal scorer in the box. So I do appreciate that in the modern game, you do need to be a bit more flexible, but I feel like we can get enough flexibility from the wings. And for me, Martial and Rashford are going to have to fight out for that left position. Maybe Marcus can come and play on the right. Ollie's used him there a couple of times, and it goes on what we were saying a minute ago, a little bit more flexibility. But I think it's not necessarily stunting Mason's growth, because he's getting minutes, he's getting experience, he's playing against decent fullbacks week in, week out. But longer term, I feel like, for me, if it was up to me, and obviously it isn't, but when Cavani wasn't available, I would be playing Mason as the number 9, because I just think he's a better finisher. And we're going into some really big games now. We've got Leipzig on Tuesday, we've got Manchester City. I know I say it every week, but we might only get 2 chances in them games and to take them. And if I was a betting man, I would have Cavani waiting for that ball, and if behind him in the pecking order, if he wasn't there, I'd pick Mason Greenwood to be there. So I don't necessarily think it's stunting his growth at all that he's playing out on the right. You can see he's not comfortable out there. He's very left-footed. He reminds me of Van Persie, who was very comfortable coming in off that right side and whipping balls in with his left. He's got that technical ability like a Van Persie, but I think it's a tough one for Ollie, because if he doesn't play him, he is going to stunt his growth. But sometimes he's not going to really fit the system to be the main number 9. But I think going forward for United, it's got to be him or it's got to be Cavani. I'm not convinced by Martial in that position. He misses too many chances. And as I said, it's great against the smaller teams because you get 5 or 6 opportunities, especially if we're playing on the counter-attack. We create a lot of chances away from home. But when you need an ice-cold finisher, it's got to be if you're playing a ball in and it's landing to someone in the penalty area, I want a Cavani or a Greenwood. And I feel like if Ollie did play them in that position and tell them to hold that position as well, I get players run out wide and stuff like that. And that's great. And as I say, it's the modern game. Players are a lot more fluid than the olden days when it was you're a centre forward, you don't move from that position. I do get that, but I feel like for the amount of quality we've got, to be able to create chances with your Mattas, with your Brunos, with your Donnies, with your Marshalls and Rashford, Martial and Rashford on the wings, it's all well and good getting them balls in. We said about Telles earlier, when he sort of gets down the byline, you want it whipped in. You don't want a Martial in. Well, I don't want a Tony in the penalty area. I want a Cavani or a Greenwood, because you know if it's half a chance, it's at least going to hit the target. Whereas with Martial, I don't know, maybe it's his form, and maybe I'm being a little bit harsh. I did go in on him a little bit for his post-match. I think he's been poor recently. But I feel like for our striking position, we need ice cold, and you don't get any more ice cold than Mason Greenwood. I don't think he should start ahead of Cavani. So we are going to see him on the right a little bit, but it's about who we're playing. If it suits him being on the right because he's going to get more of the ball to cut inside against the smaller teams, that's great. But he's definitely not a right winger. He definitely isn't a left winger either. So for me, if Cavani's not starting, I want to see him there.
It's interesting what you say in terms of what we're looking for, and mentioning Telles there, because the one area that Ollie's picked Greenwood up for in public is his heading ability. So it's maybe he's just a decent header away from being that number 9. But I put up earlier on today for people to have their own say in a poll. What do you think about Greenwood? How should we be utilising him? And the options where he just needs game time. So you mentioned about the fact that minutes are helping him. He looks better on the right wing, so should he be a right winger? Make him backup striker, so introduce him more from the bench, coming on for the likes of Cavani or Martial, or start him up top as the options. Keane, let me come over to you first, because we haven't heard an awful lot from you today. What do you make of the Greenwood chatter? Where do you stand with it?
I think with Mason Greenwood, like he's a proper number 9. He is a striker. Like you've seen in his early days when he's coming up to the academy and through the under-23s and the 19s, that his goal scoring record up front was untouchable at that level. And he has that movement of a number 9 who can come in and, who can get in them right positions and score goals. As you said, his heading ability probably does leave him down in that respect. But look, he's only 19 years of age. He's learning within the game. He's someone there in Edison Cavani who makes all them similar runs. And I think Mason can learn a lot from Edison over this 12 months or 18 months or whatever, how long Cavani's going to be at the club. I think it's massive for his development that he is playing in the same side as Cavani. One thing I've seen in the last two or three games since Mason's been playing in there with Cavani is Cavani's constantly talking to Mason throughout the game. You can see the communication there in terms of like when Mason didn't pass him the ball a couple of times. I think it was against Southampton. Cavani was talking to him. When Mason missed a chance, Cavani was talking to him. I think having someone like that there for Mason to learn can only benefit him. I think when we had Zlatan there, it should have benefited Martial and Rashford. It didn't, because Zlatan was more of a potent figure, and Zlatan's a player who was more about himself rather than kind of everybody else. Where you see with Cavani, he seems to be a leader, and he seems to be someone who kind of wants to play for the team rather than himself. So I think, yes, playing Mason Greenwood right wing for the short term is very good. And I think then having Edison Cavani in alongside him, Mason learning a lot from him, can only benefit him though in the long term.
Yeah, and I think that's quite exciting about us signing Cavani as well. The education he can give to younger lads, and even Rashford as well. I think is quite exciting. Chucky, let me come over to you next, mate. Mason Greenwood. I say where do you sit? It's not really about where you sit, but what do you want us to see? What do you want to see us do with him next? Do you want to see him starting more regularly as a 9, or are you happy enough with his progression from that right hand side?
Yeah, I actually have a diametrically opposite view. I think we should be starting Greenwood as a 9, and I think Cavani should come off the bench if it's the EPL. I think Cavani starts in Europe, and that's how I would do it personally. Because in EPL, Cavani's like 33. You can tell he's an excellent number 9. I mean, he's the archetypal number 9. That's the number 9, the traditional style number 9. The issue there is in EPL, you have folks they're fast, they're strong, and you really want Cavani to come off the bench after watching the phases of play, sussing out the opportunities that he can and pockets in which he can go and control. I think there's no perfect example in the match against Southampton. I think that worked out perfectly. And in my head, I think that's right about where we should be. The balance between Cavani and Mason Greenwood. I know it might seem counterintuitive, but it's more like managing resources, the right resource for the right time. I think Greenwood definitely should be central when it comes to starting games. Then you bring Cavani in to just kill people off with his excellent movement and finishing.
Yeah, no, really good points, well made. Oliver, what about you? I know you're a huge fan of Mason Greenwood, watched him a lot from the academy all the way through to now. I mean, a point was made here saying that Mason has played left wing, right wing and centre forward very well from even his academy days. So he's always been quite flexible, but he's always been a stone cold finisher as well, hasn't he? So
he even played.
Yeah, but he doesn't create from the right, which is an issue.
Mate, on both feet, it's not bad crossing, it's finishing. His ability to stop a ball dead.
He's got it all.
He literally does have it all. It just needs polishing. And he's going to get that with game time.
He's a fantastic player, isn't he?
I mean, you look at Calvert-Lewin, for example. Apparently he's only been told by Ancelotti to go and watch a video of an old Juventus number 9, and that's made him into the player he is. That's not true. He obviously already had the stats there. I think adding heading to his game has made him a better player. And as we've been saying, Greenwood adding heading to his game, his positioning is going to help him because he's not a massively tall player. And Cavani can definitely help him with that because, as you say, having that experience that Cavani brings, having those little words in his ear. Maybe if he'd have just gone down this channel, you'd have got there quicker. He's going to whip it in the front. And all that together can, I think, make one of the top players that we have. It's been a while since we've had a worldie, minus Rashford, obviously, come through the academy. And I think Mason is a very special player and potentially, he is the future for me. And I think it'd be sad to see us not use him or, promote him rather than buying in another player. I think that's maybe why we bought an older statesman like Cavani. He can learn from him. He's not going to hinder him too much because he can't play every game. So I think you have to play him as your number 9. I think Martial did a job last season. But for me, I prefer him off the left anyway. He's got that sort of trickery that he can get a shot off. And his 1-2 touch play, his close control is very good from the left. Where, that finish against West Ham was brilliant from Greenwood. Controlled it. And then in one movement, he's got a shot away through round the back of the goalkeeper. Now that's, that is instinctive finishing for me. So I think he's got all the attributes. He needs the game time, but then you've got the added thing of all the pressure that comes with playing for Manchester United as a number 9. Look how sort of toxic Twitter went when Martial missed those chances for PSG. You sort of overlook the work that he actually did in the game. So it's a tough one for me. I think my view on it is, yes, let's play him on the right and get him the game time. Or I think Chucky said it brilliantly, maybe do use him in the Premier League and use Cavani for the big European nights that maybe get on top of someone. So I'd use him as our backup number 9, and then if we haven't any choice or we're going 3 up front, I see no reason why we can't use him on the right. So it's a bit of a mishmash of everyone's answers there. But I think he needs to be used now he's on song.
Kai,
I think
thoughts
we've
from
got
you?
to get the balance right with him as well, because look at Owen. He got ran into the ground very young at Liverpool and never really recovered like longer term on his career. So I think we've got to get the balance right with Greenwood.
It only takes a hamstring injury. Only takes a hamstring injury. Kai, sorry, your thoughts, mate?
No, I had a knee
Well,
injury.
just two things. Firstly, I think if you look in, just to look at some of
Yeah,
the
I can
parallels,
see.
if you look in history, you've got when we had those 4 strikers with Andy Cole and Dwight York, Teddy, and who was the last one?
Ollie?
What was the last one? How am I forgetting? Ole, sorry. That's horrible.
The manager. There,
That's horrible.
That guy
But
we have in charge, you know.
yeah, that one guy, the 99 guy, scored a tap in. But what you can see is Ole played. There was a season, correct me if I'm wrong, which Ole played on the right wing to replace David Beckham because he was injured at that time.
Yep.
And I think he's got that sort of intrinsic thing with him, which says that his center forwards need to be able to perform many roles. I think even the signing of Cavani was sort of to look at someone who could also maybe do some sort of Mandzukic role as well, a striker who could play, who was intelligent enough to pull out on the right or to pull out on the left, because Cavani, like I said before, has played all over the show in his career and to great effect. At Napoli, he was literally not just a target man center forward, but you would find him popping up on the left as well. You find that as well with Uruguay, where he's normally crossing the ball to Suarez. They're normally swapping that sort of assist. So I think Ole has that intrinsic thing which says, I want my strikers to be able to play
Kai
a whole
Kai
lot of
took the
positions.
words. My
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
it's all good.
And then the last one is that I think also one thing we must see why maybe it might be a thing for Greenwood to slowly get into the fold is even in that second half, he missed quite a few chances which he snatched at, which he could have had a little bit better decision making in those times. And I think that's also something that's going to come with age, because I think now, because he's young, yes, he's stone cold, but I think he's young, so he still has a little bit of the rush of blood thing. And you can actually see it sometimes where he's so much better of a finisher, but then he just kind of skews the ball a little bit. And I think sometimes it's just a little thing which says, his balance is going to get better. He's going to understand a lot more of his body as he goes on. Because even there was one that came over his shoulder, which was very Van Persie-esque in terms of, the connection that he could make. But he just kind of swung at it, and it was kind of like, it's one of those things. But I think he's going to get better in that sort of thing. But I still think Cavani is a world-class striker, genuine world-class number 9. And if Ole says he had a small injury, then that's probably maybe what affected a little bit of his game, I would say. I'm a little bit biased over there, but I think those two should, feed off each other.
Yeah, fantastic points, everyone. Abdel, you finally, does it matter where he's lining up? Do we just need to see the best out of him, and how do we get the best out of him, Abdel?
I think he's good coming off either wings, or of course his best place is center forward. But I see it a lot with fans, and even with myself sometimes, is we focus on the one thing that they're the best at, and we want to hone their skills in that direction, and just don't move them out of it. You know what I mean? So like for example with Cavani, like Kai was just saying, because I was gonna highlight him as well, as he's more than just a poacher in the box. Cavani can link up play very well. Cavani can move out to the wings and put in crosses, like I was saying. He's more than just your typical in the box center forward. And I think this is what Ollie wants from his all the 3 forwards in his front line. Like he want them to move in each other's places. He want them to all of them have the ability to do all the things that a 9 can do, and all the things that an inside forward can do. Obviously, there are ones that are better than the others in certain things, but you shouldn't, you know what I mean, put down other attributes just because you think his best is heading, for example. So just stay in the box and head the balls. That's it. That's all I want you to do. It just does not work like that. Like I mean, with Kane, for example, and Jose Mourinho right now, like how he's using him, because
Different
he
player.
wants to play on the counter attack. But Kane, if you describe Kane before how Jose playing him right now, you would say he's a poacher in the box, right? He's a deadly finisher. But Jose's not using that right now. He's using mainly his link-up play with Son, just so that Son makes the off-the-run thing, So don't sleep on the other attributes. Is that what I'm trying to say? And I think one thing that you can't fault Oli for is minutes. He really knows how to manage the minutes for his players. And I know people jumped on his back when he took Cavani off against PSG, but I saw that that's Cavani's limit. And if he played more than this, he will get an injury. And what do you think? Against West Ham, he did pick up a knock, So it's like Cavani has a limit. He won't be able to play every match or 3-4 matches after each other.
And
So,
Abdel, another thing over there, that you just mentioned with that is a lot of fans have this obsession that every player needs to be as good as each other. What if Rashford is just better than Martial? What if Martial is just better than Rashford? What if Greenwood is just better than all of them? How is it possible that a United team has to have players which are equally as good, with the same age, with the same attributes, with the same? It's weird. It just doesn't make any sense. Of course, there's some. I mean, look at other teams. Bayern. Look at the Bayern team. Not everyone is as good as each other. They all bring something that makes the team complete. Thomas Muller isn't going to be Serge Gnabry, isn't going to be Sane or whatever. He's not pretending to be something he's not.
But Martial and Rashford have to be Mbappe. It doesn't work. They have to
exactly. They have to be Mbappe. It's weird.
He's overrated Mbappe anyway.
But Abdel, in your comments, you mentioned quite a few interesting things there. What do you think about, not just about people talking about, hey, this person primarily has this skill, so therefore we need to hone that one as an apex skill. Yeah. I'm more interested in the opportunity costs and the penalties we pay. When Greenwood is on the right, specifically, when he's on the right, he doesn't create. He creates for himself. He's not disciplined to do the defensive duties, so that stretches the person behind him.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of drain that comes from him specifically playing on the right.
But also you could attribute that to development, because his mind is still focused. I want to score.
Yeah.
I want to take that shot. I'm not looking at the other runs. And then he realizes he makes a mistake, and then the next time he passes, and then he goes back to that same mindset as I want to shoot, So it's a process of development, and you're completely right about the defensive duties. We've seen it at the beginning of this season, in a glaring manner, especially that Brighton game. But I mean, this is the risk and reward of the game, right? Every single position has its risks and has its rewards, and you just have to mitigate around every one of them.
Guys, I would love to carry this. Sorry, go on.
I just think that Oli is actually waiting for Ahmad to come in. I mean, when Facundo came in, we were expecting him to start on right wing right away, but he has gone into the under-23s. And I had put out a tweet saying that now he has say 3 months to make this number 7 position in his own until Ahmad comes in, because I really rate Ahmad. And I think that when Ahmad comes in, then Facundo and Ahmad are going to take over duties at right wing, and then Greenwood will see him more central.
Yeah. No, good points, well mate, guys. That was a fantastic chat. We've got to leave it there because we've done nearly an hour and a half, and I know I can't keep you guys too long. Just quickly, one-word answers, please. Kai, are we going to do the job on Tuesday? Yes or no?
Absolutely. That was 5 words.
Oliver, yes or no? We're going to do the job on Tuesday?
Definitely.
Chucky?
Oli gets out of the group stage. Yes.
Jamie?
Definitely. We're going to blow them away like yous have done to my headphones tonight.
Yeah. Abdel, you're expecting us to do a job on them?
I hope so.
And Brown Knight, you confident?
We have to.
You have to. Yeah, good points. Right, preview out tomorrow. That's going to be dropping tomorrow at midday, so check that out on the channel. Hit a like on this video, subscribe, check all these guys out. Their ats are going to be on our Twitter, at All For United, to go and give them a follow. Lads, that was a brilliant show. Thank you so much for all jumping on. Brown Night, just for everyone watching, what did they miss? No, don't worry about it. They can get into the show at the start anyway. Thank you, guys. Take it easy. Just in case you're wondering, if you thought Jamie had a bad evening with his headphones blowing up, Jamie's also a massive boxing fan, so you wait until he sees the news that Mayweather's going to be fighting Logan Paul next February. That's when he'll lose his shit. Anyway,
on that note, the show's done.
on that note, take it easy, guys. Good night.
See you later.